Director Wray, as you mentioned earlier, the FBI has concluded with moderate confidence that the virus leaked from the lab in Wuhan. The intriguing thing is that if I were to say that, as I did, and others said this for over a year and a half, Facebook actually suppressed that knowledge, suppressed its spread, and its ability to be transferred from their users. Whether or not they did that at the behest of the FBI or the DHS is eventually going to come out in the court case, but it is a big deal. I've met with the FBI, and one of the things I'm interested in is trying to get people on both sides of the aisle to be interested in the possibility that what happened in Wuhan could happen in the United States. It could happen in 20 different labs around the world. It could happen with nefarious actors. It's something we should be concerned with, the idea of making and creating viruses that are more dangerous than occur in nature. One thing that would help us would be to reveal more to us of your conclusions. So, for example, for the longest time, I'm pretty sure it was classified that you had even concluded that. I think your public statements were the first time we ever were heard publicly that the FBI had actually made a conclusion. So even the conclusion was secret for a long time. Now, you had to have an analysis. You must have a paper sort of description of your thought process. We passed unanimously legislation to declassify all this stuff. Most of the stuff doesn't need to be classified. A lot of those conclusions are just basically, we've had them out in the public. We've been discussing this. But it would help the debate and maybe help us prevent something like this from happening again if you'd release your report. Are you going to declassify and release your report that allows you to conclude with moderate confidence that the virus came from the lab?
Well, I know my staff has been engaged with you directly on this, including the head of our WMD directorate, and I expect that to continue. I know you've asked for a number of documents that I believe we're getting ready to provide to you, potentially as early as this week. As to what can be shared publicly, as opposed to shared with you in your oversight capacity, that gets a little more complicated because sometimes the information is interwoven with other agencies' information we don't entirely control.
We don't want to know who your sources are. We want to hear your conclusions. We want to have what your scientists have looked at. And one of the specific things we asked them, they said they would be forthcoming with, and the meeting seemed to include cooperation, but then they just go dark on us. So, for example, one of the most important information from my point of view that suggests this came from Wuhan is that in 2018, the lab in Wuhan, along with a scientist at University of North Carolina, along with Peter Daszak, applied for money from DARPA. They wanted to create a coronavirus that had a cleavage site in it that's more commonly found in human viruses. They were denied the money, but that led us to thinking, and a lot of people think, wow, they were already asking for money to create a virus that has the same structure as COVID had.